Be intentional about who you are, how you treat yourself and others, and how you spend your days. Take time periodically to truly slow it down. And listen to your breath. Use those minutes or hours to remember that you have everything you need in this very moment. That everything is okay just as it is now. Allow yourself everything you are feeling right now, whether it's joy or hurt, sorrow or glee. And then return to this moment. Remind yourself where you come from and who you are. Remember that whether you're floating through a busy day or stumbling through tough times, you are a living, breathing being with real feelings and real dreams. Remind yourself that you are meant to feel joy. You are meant to feel free. Walk the earth. James, we're going to talk about intentional and what that means to be intentional on one's life. When I use the word intentional, James, what does that mean? What comes to mind?
When I hear the word intentional, it means, a number of words come to mind: belief, and in the context of what you just said, belief in oneself. You're very intentional, and what I was hearing in what you said, in this context, you're intentional about factoring yourself in the equation. Mm-hmm. It's very important.
Being who you are.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of reasons why you do that, and I'm sure you're going to take us down that path. But every part of what you just said, it is very important to factor yourself into the equation. And you're intentional about it. And when you're intentional, you shut off all other voices. You shut off. There's a very strong focus. You don't see that. You see them, but they do not distract you. Mm-hmm. The hurricanes... you're going through a hurricane. You're intentional of getting through. Mm-hmm. You see the damage around you, but at the end of the day, you have to be intentional to keep on going through. It can't stop you. Mm-hmm. You're so focused. When you're giving a mission, you see the mission. You're very intentional to see the mission. Nothing distracts you. The mission becomes a priority. Mm-hmm. So it's a focus of, when I hear the word intentional, it's a focus of body, mind, spirit, and mental all working together.
And you use the key word focus, yeah. Which intentional is you're really focusing. Yes. You're making choices, and it really talks about feeling in this moment, feeling your hurt, feeling your sorrow, feeling your glee. That's another part of living an intentional life, is you're going to be very much in tune with what you're feeling at any moment, pretty much how you show up. You're going to be very intentional in understanding your feelings. And then it also talks about the freedom that you get when you're intentional. Intentional is being you and who you are, and knowing that everything you need within that moment you have. So it's really having exactly what you said, James, a focus on a purpose, on a mission, but you're being very intentional about it. And so that can play out in many different ways, but oftentimes what this is actually talking about is talking about it being played out in your personal life as a holistic point of view. Mm-hmm. And that would basically be when I'm looking at my personal life, when I'm looking at who I am. Do I know who I am at all points in times? Do I know how I feel at all points in times? And what parts of my life could I grow, could I expand of? In that specific thing, I'm going to start making decisions, choices to be intentional, focused on growing in those areas, whether it's spiritual, financial, whatever it is. But really taking that personal power that we're given to, again, we are the creators of our own destiny. Really taking that to heart and living that out intentionally.
Yeah, and I like the one point that you did say, Nancy, is feeling. Intentional about knowing what you're feeling. And exactly what you're saying. And when I say factor, it's important to factor ourselves in the equation. You take it to the next level and say it's important to know who you are in every in every situation.
That's correct.
You're taking yourself from the day you get out, the morning you get out of bed to where you're at work, where you're at home. You're fully self-aware of who you are. And you're also very self-aware of what you're feeling. And I want to pull that little piece out right here and say how important it is to be intentional of you knowing how you're feeling.
Well, first of all, James, when you get up in the morning, okay, say you're in a bad mood, okay, and we all have those. Say you're in a bad mood, and again, attitude is a choice. So if I'm in a bad mood, that affects my attitude, my perspective of life. It affects everything,
But that's
right?
not necessarily who you are.
Right, but it's not necessarily who I am. So how does intentionality focus in on this? I'm going to take a moment to intentionally analyze my mood and get the information that my mood is telling me. Am I in a bad mood because I was violated? Am I in a bad mood because I'm experiencing a loss? What exactly is my mood telling me? That's being intentional in taking that moment to just sit there and really analyze, okay, why am I feeling in a bad mood? And then making a decision and a choice that I'm going to change my attitude, because now I know why. Now I can change my attitude so that when I'm showing up at work, my mood in the morning is not there. My mood isn't going to be showing up with me. When I'm showing up wherever I'm going throughout the day, because again, you take yourself wherever you go. You can't just leave. I mean, there would be times that, it would be great to just leave part of you back behind, because it's not having a good day. But unfortunately, you have to take yourself where you're going. So you might as well you need to take a look at yourself and really analyze, why am I feeling this way? What exactly is the information I'm getting from this? And then make a choice that either you can continue to stay. You have the choice to stay in a bad mood, but then there's going to be consequences for that. Because if you're in a bad mood, you're going to go to work and you're going to trigger other people. Again, consequences. Same thing if I decide to have a positive attitude, there's consequences for that. It's just all about what kind of consequences do I want to live in. And again, is it who I am? Is that who I am? It goes back to the identity. Is it who I am? So I'm going to be very intentional to understand how I'm feeling and what is showing up.
And what you're bringing through a little bit there is you're intentional about taking personal responsibility.
Yes, exactly.
You can't just get out of bed and know, oh, this is the way I feel, so I'm going to affect everybody around me because I feel this way and it's okay.
But no, it is okay. If you want to feel that way, that is okay, but there's consequences for that. Personal responsibility, okay, if you want to have your personal power, you have to take personal responsibility. It goes hand in hand. You can't not have personal responsibility and expect to have personal power. It doesn't work. Because I'm responsible for me.
Because there is that balance. Okay, we can feel poor me or a victim.
We can, and those are choices.
And then how does that affect in the long term?
Well, again,
and then is that really who you are?
It goes back to the question, is it really who you are? And then, you do have the opportunity. You can become a victim of your circumstances. You can. That's a choice you can make. Okay. But when you do that, you're giving away your power. You really are. You're giving away your power because what you're saying is your circumstances control you. So you cannot overcome your circumstances. So you are really a very weak person. You're giving away your power. That's what you're doing.
And you're also giving away your self-respect.
You're also giving away your self-respect because now you're at the mercy of everyone else. Because again, if you're this victim, now you want everyone else to feel, you want everybody else to empathize or sympathize with you, and you want them to cater to you. And guess what? They really don't care. Your problem's not their problems. So it really comes back to the fact, are you going to live a victorious life or are you going to be a victim? That's your choice. And as C.S. Lewis says, to not make a choice is to make a choice. So if you don't consciously, intentionally make a choice that I'm not going to be a victim, you just chose to be a victim.
And I'd like to pull out again a little bit on the giving away your power. Mm-hmm. You really open yourself up when you don't cleanse or you're insecure. Let's say you have, again, another feeling is fear. Mm-hmm. If you don't face the fear, because, again, we know the quotes on fear.
Right.
Fear itself and all that fun stuff. But if you're not facing a fear, you're giving opportunity for somebody else
to use the fear against you. Absolutely. And they can
because I like
extort you.
That's why I want to expound on how do you give power away.
Right. Your emotions are tools, okay? Whether you give a knowledge to your emotions or not, they're there. Mm-hmm. It's part of being human. They're there, okay? So if you are not intentional of looking inside and understanding what you're accessing and why you're accessing it, someone else is going to do that for you. Mm-hmm. And you may be at work and have a great day, and all of a sudden, boom, someone's going to hit your trigger. Mm-hmm. You're out of control. You lost it. And everyone's going to look at you and say, you're an angry person. Don't go around this person. This person's an angry person. Or you're a bad, bad person. Okay? That's not who you are, but you just gave that power away.
Or you're a needy person.
Or you're a needy person. Exactly. Exactly. You're a needy person.
There's always somebody around that are willing to fill your need.
That is true because it creates a codependency.
Well, and for them, it creates a superiority, and you become captive.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, it's a vicious game. So that is why it's very important to really be intentional on your feelings and embrace those moments, because if you don't, someone else is going to bring them for you.
Yeah.
Because again, your emotions, we're all human. We all have them. So if you're not intentionally on dissecting them, realizing what's in them, someone else is more than willing to do that, because guess what? It gives them control over you. Mm-hmm. If I get a person emotionally out of control and I'm staying totally in control, I have the power. They don't.
And we never really think about it that way, do we?
No.
I mean, that's why I wanted to push us out a little bit on what does it mean? What does it look like when you're giving power away? Mm-hmm. I know that from a lot of personal experience. I would always said, I said in a previous, it's sort of like you're putting a sign on your back saying, I'm giving my power away. And another way of saying is I'm insecure in this area. You're exposing its uncleansed feeling.
Well, I'm really giving you a good example of what this really looks like. Okay, so my current 7th grader was in 4th grade. And she came home one day and she was just all mad. So I asked her, I said, what is going on? I said, why are you so mad? And she just went off because she was playing a game and the cards, she lost and everything. And she was just mad and she was just had a horrible day. Everything was awful. And I just looked at her and I asked her, I said, do you like when people boss you? No. I said, do you like when people tell you what to do? No. I said, well, this little stack of cards just became your boss. You are going off and you had an awful day all because of this little stack of cards. That little stack of cards just became your boss. That's what it looks like. And she was going to go play soccer that night. And I told her, I said, you have a choice. You can continue. The stack of cards already became your boss. Now tonight, if you take that hole with you, go into your soccer game, your soccer ball will become your boss. Or you can choose to go in with a positive attitude and take back your power. That's exactly what it looks like. Everyone else is in control of you except for yourself. That's what that looks like.
And the more we're on the path of intention, we're talking this week, something that you've taught me a lot by your personal experience is you talk a lot about intentionally in who you are today, of knowing who you are, and self-examination, words like self-awareness. You spend a lot of time in your personal journey to get to where you're at today. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of intentionality from when you were younger to say, I am going to do a very strong self-examination. Mm-hmm. It wasn't examining the people around you. You were in circumstances in your life that you're not going to be a victim. But you spend a lot of time, who am I? What do I believe? Not based on anybody around you, not based on the circumstances that came into you. But you did a lot of personal growth and intentional of going inside. Can you describe it a little bit what we talked about this week?
Right. Well, it was a circumstance that I, at that point in time, felt extremely helpless. Mm-mm. People that I had trusted the most in my life left me. I was looking for guidance. I was just young, and this had never happened before. This situation never happened before. I was looking for guidance. I was looking for something. I was looking for something to understand. And the only thing that would continue to come to me is that I was wrong. I was the one that was in the wrong, because this doesn't happen to anyone else. And so I was constantly looking at, what did I do wrong? But yet nobody could tell me what I did wrong. But if you look at the evidence in front of you, obviously I did something wrong. It's called falsely accusation. It is someone is holding something against you, yet you don't have, then nobody tells you what it is. So your only weapon against that is to look inside. You can't look at everybody else. You can't measure everybody. Because again, if there's something, who I am today, I understand 100%. If someone has something against me, they would tell me, right? If I'm asking everyone what it is and they're not telling me, then there's obviously nothing wrong. I didn't do anything. That's the power of false accusation. The only way you can get out of that is you look at yourself. You continue to look at yourself and you ask yourself, okay, who am I? And what exactly did I do wrong? When I continue to look at who I am and what, the first thing that I had to make a really hard decision was, I am going to remove myself from that environment. Because I had a choice to either stay and get bitter or leave and get better. And I chose to leave because it wasn't fair to me to stay. So, and that in that situation was not an easy decision to make. That's the first step I made, was to basically choose to leave the environment. It was a toxic environment and it wasn't good. So I was going to leave. The second thing that I'm looking at is, okay, who am I? I'm a person of integrity. I'm a person that my yes is yes and my no is no. And so now I'm going to be looking at, okay, what is my purpose and what am I going to? Because I'm leaving from this toxic environment, so I can continue to sit there and I can be, now I'm thrown out and I can be a victim of that circumstances, or I can say, no, this is an opportunity for me to take a look and say, where am I going? And the only thing I can continue to do is grow myself. I cannot look at everybody else. I cannot say, well, I need this person to become this way so that I can become this way. No, the only thing I can do is I can say, I have a responsibility to myself to live a life, to set an example on how I feel I should have been treated back then. Only I can do that. 20 years later, truth is coming to the top. And it always is. The cream always comes to the top. If you stand in integrity, if you focus on your integrity, it always comes to the top. But you have to continue to focus on yourself. That you don't, like I said, was I angry? Oh, yeah. Was I hurt? Oh, yeah. But the truth is, I chose not to go off and let them know that. Instead, I went off to examine myself. I went off to find the power within myself of forgiveness. That's the first step, is forgiveness. And how could I forgive? Again, by removing myself from the toxic environment.
And there's a lot of who you are today, and a lot of things that has helped me in the day, and as Orange Rose Services had. And one of the things, there's so many benefits. Mm-hmm. But there are benefits and signs. And one of the things that today, 20 years later, when somebody says something or falsely accuses you, you do not justify yourself.
No, I don't.
And it's a sign when we justify ourselves or defend ourselves from the false accusation. And there's one way of saying, okay, I don't receive that. Mm-hmm. There's another way of saying, there's another falsely when you justify yourself, what would those terminologies be?
When you justify, okay, if you're falsely accused,
Yes.
you go into justifying yourself. Again, when you stand in truth, you don't have to justify yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so if I know very clearly my integrity, and I'm very much aware of within myself that, again, false accusations come, there's no data to prove it. There's no facts that back it. And when you ask, what did you do wrong? They're not going to tell you. That's false accusations. Because again, if I did something wrong and it really hurt you, you're going to tell me. If you brought it up to me, you're going to tell me, right? So if I stand there and justify myself, okay, I'm just basically what I'm saying. I'm just validating to them that they were right. Again, when you stand in truth, you don't need to justify yourself. So it's really when those accusations come, you look at yourself and you say, did I do that? Did I do that? Well, if I did, I wasn't aware of it, so I'm going to be honest with that. Can you be more specific? I'm going to ask for more details. Can you be more specific in when this happened and how this happened? Give me more details. If there's no more details there, then exactly, the conversation fades. The conversation fades. If there's more details there, and oftentimes false accusations, that's when the conversation fades right there. If you're asking for more details. Because again, remember, when you make up a lie, you're going to have to continue to make more lies to cover that one lie. And you're going to have to remember every single one of your lies, because eventually your lies aren't going to match up. That's exhausting just talking about it.
Yeah, it is.
And so the real truth of it is basically the real power you have within yourself is, again, knowing who you are, knowing how you show up. That's being very aware of your emotions, and then really looking at that and saying, you know what, I do not receive that, or you don't even acknowledge it, because again, it's not true.
Nancy, you said a lot today, and a lot of it is what I've experienced on Arms Road Services and learned a lot of this. And I look at myself today as a total different person. Mm-hmm. In some ways, I recognized over this last week the areas where I wasn't me and the power that other people had over me. Mm-hmm. And immediately I would default that, did I offend somebody? Mm-hmm. Did I say the wrong thing? Was I wrong? Or if somebody's not able to, I would also do it for them, help them. Mm-hmm. I would think I would help people. But no, the false guilt would force me and my psyche at that time to just do it for them.
Yes.
To do things for free.
You felt indebted to them.
Exactly.
Somehow you felt indebted to them.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
There's a tremendous amount of debt. Mm-hmm. And what you said is a lot of mouthful and a whole transition I experienced as the person I am today. But I used to have my default go-tos. Mm-hmm. Immediately, first thing, I had a number of them. I'm sorry. It was the first thing. Exactly. Instead of what you said was, is that correct? Is that mm-hmm. who I am? Is that statement true? Mm-hmm. What I would do is have a default mechanism. And go
directly to sorry. Right away, you assumed responsibility automatically.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. There were a number of default mechanisms that at the end of the day, I was a servant of all.
Yes.
And, at some point, you look at that as a noble thing. But what I lost the most is self-respect. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, people around you really don't respect you when you do that. They really don't. And here's the real piece. They don't trust you.
No.
The thing that you want the most, because you want people, part of that, you want people's trust. And so you work at hard of keeping their trust at the sacrifice of who you are. Mm-hmm. And then nobody trusts that person. What they will do is continue to give your shoes to polish. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, nobody really and in truth, I mean, there are predators out there, what I call narcissists, that will just suck off that all the time.
They will. That's a true statement.
But the true people in our world don't really want that. They really don't it's not the makeup of the most of people.
Right.
At the end of the day, people live in win-win.
They do.
I hold my space, you hold your space. So in this podcast, you opened up a door of intentionality of who you are in a real way. Something that really resonated, that has been my journey on the transformation that Arnold Rose has walked alongside with me. And today, I can honestly say I'm a total different person. I didn't recognize myself back then. And to assume to be intentional about who I am today, I'm a different person. It's a transformation. It's easy to sit there and bring out the pieces, and we said a mouthful, but to really live it and to really go that path, to really say no to those voices, to really tell yourself that you matter.
Yes.
That you are intentional, exactly what you said, of being who you are. That's a journey.
It is.
It's the most rewarding journey you'll ever go on for you and others around you. It's a journey, though, and it is hard work.
It is.
But exactly what you said, and someone is saying, there's tremendous amount of freedom that you'll never ever be described until you start the steps.
It's a true statement, James. True statement. We were created to live free. And when I talk about that, free in who we are, who we were created to be. And so, but we have to make that choice. The first step is to make that choice that I'm going to be intentional on knowing who I am. Because only then do you take your power back. Only then do you honestly say, only then are you very intentional that I'm creating my destiny. So that where I'm at, I can say, yes, I got myself here. And I'm going to get myself there because I know how I got myself here.
And you can't blame others, and others can't blame you.
No.
Because you take ownership, which is the next level of the personal. You take ownership of who you are. And you love to get up in the morning and you look in the mirror. And when you look in the mirror, you know who you are, and you're able to face your feelings. You're able to face everything about yourself.
Yes, that would be true.
And you're able to talk to yourself in the mirror. And you're not condemning yourself.
No.
You're accepting that feeling that you need to put under captivity.
Yes.
Take everything, every thought, everything under captivity. If you filter, you take it under captivity and say, okay, what is it? And it's not. I'm not going exactly what you talked about your daughter. You're not. It's not going to control you.
The deck of cards is not going to be my boss. Yeah. The soccer ball is not going to be my boss. I'm going to be my own boss. Yeah.
We have moved from 1 week to every 2 weeks. We're bringing a lot. We're going to be bringing in the future some really good content, really thought through. So we made an executive decision to go every 2 weeks.
That's correct, James.
And this has been a very, very thought-provoking, also a very deep podcast, Nancy. You have brought a lot to the table. Is there any closing remarks that you have?
No, James, I think I pretty much stated everything.
I want to encourage our audience, if this hits something, please contact us, arnoldroseservices.com. It will have our email, also our phone number, just to drop us a line or just give us a call. Because this is very, how I'd say, personal, more experiential, what you just talked on this podcast. I've experienced this, and I want to tell everyone out there to start taking steps on this journey. You'll never, ever regret the first step you made.
True statement, James.